Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next match of the Main Quest Order 2023 tournament within Bracket Round 2. This matchup is between our 2nd seed Ryan and the 10th seed Dalory. My name is Turtle, once again casting for you, and once again joined by my lovely co-host Covert Muffin. Muffin, how are you doing after that first match?
Doing great. After that first match, right? It's like absolute heart attack town with like both of our runners pulling out some amazing stuff. But speaking of amazing people, Ryan and Dalory are excellent speedrunners of MQO in general. And so I am very excited to see this. And that being said, this is going to be a round 2 match featuring off a single elimination fight between these two. And so the winner of this is going to go up against the winner of our previous round, which was none other than Seal. So we'll see what happens. And I guess I can say that Ryan is definitely heavily favored to win this, right? They're the 2nd seed, and Dalory is going to be the 10th seed. But also just Ryan, just one of 2 people during the qualifier rounds to be able to push out multiple sub 1 hour times for their qualifier runs themselves. So just absolutely incredible, and I am looking forward to see them play.
Yeah, Ryan has been 100% killing it lately, but I wouldn't count Dalory out. While it's not the greatest odds, he doesn't have the greatest odds to win, he did put up an excellent showing against Mava in his last tournament match and did pull off an upset there as the number 10 seed against the number 7. So with some great play and maybe a few mistakes from Ryan, it could still be Dalory's game to win. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Ori. Like, we say this in every single tournament match ever, but it's like, it's not over until it's over, because anything can anything can happen within an Ori match itself. But here we go. We're on the game's screen as our runners are going to be getting underway, featuring Ryan on the left and Dalory on the right, with the respective timers down below underneath the game screens. And so looking forward to seeing how this one shapes out. And there is going to be a lot of action that we are going to be talking through. But really, I love like kind of thinking about MQO and sort of like a 3-part run, right? Because it is a mid-range category, right? We have the early game with 2 incredibly difficult sequence breaks, as well as a lot of very technical movement, even with just the base kit of the skills themselves. But then in the mid game, it's going to be like a bit of a boss rush. And then at the very end, we have Willow's End, which is going to be kind of probably one of the most technical and difficult areas in order to do optimally. But there we go. Runners underway. As a quick reminder, we are going to be not running in real-time attack, or RTA for short. We are actually using timers that are going to be utilizing something known as a load remover to be able to increase the comparability between our runners. So the timers will just get desynced during the run. Don't worry about that. We will try as casters to keep you up to date as the state of the race gets evolved as our runners go through the game.
And as we start, we are of course collecting a boatload of Sphere Light. That's definitely something you'll see all throughout this first chunk of the run. We need it to buy Sentry, we need it to buy upgrades, we need it to buy Teleport Anywhere, and so both of our runners will be taking several pit stops to get it, as well as a required pit stop to grab the weapon that you see here, Torch. Torch is absolutely amazing. So keep your eyes on Ryan's screener now. They're about to be the first one to attempt a trick called Torch Hover, where, if you can't guess by the name, he will be using Torch to hover, is missing the ledge a little bit. So Dalory is actually going to get to the trick first, pulls it off perfectly, first try. Ryan is now attempting the same. Yes, them will hover over that gap. That skips a little bit of a fight scene. But the trick's not over yet. They now have to do a Torch Hover in midair to move them back toward this ledge. Dalory has just gotten it. Ryan's a little bit off. This is a really small ledge. But there we go. Both of them with their Torch skills showing them off right here in the early game.
Yeah, those skips are actually like really deceiving. They seem like they're going to be pretty like easy, and once you have like a really solid setup for them, they are pretty consistent, but they are very tight. They are very precise tricks. So nicely done from both of our runners, and no real person like really getting any sort of a lead quite yet. That's really going to evolve, especially once we get to key door skip itself. But both of our runners just grabbing the second keystone here, and they are going to be heading into the first boss fight of the run, which is going to be the Howl fight.
Yep, both of them using those 2 keystones that we get into the door. For now, those are the only 2 keystones we get, but we'll be playing around with the order we grab those later. They do have to make sure to put out their torches, otherwise it'll soft lock. Both of our runners, Dalory, okay, there we go. He puts out the torch in between the 2 logs. That's fair. But both of our runners doing a little bit of a sizzle hop to put the torch out faster, as they get down into the start of this sequence where Howl just chases you. This part's basically an auto-scroller as long as you know how to wall jump, which, I mean, our runners know how to wall jump. That's pretty basic. So beginning through this and then into the little more interesting bit of this fight, which is the fight. Howl takes 14 hits to defeat, and the fastest method of attacking is upswinging. So you'll see them in the air, just mashing that attack to get as much hits as possible in as short amount of a time as possible without getting knocked back too much.
Indeed. So pretty good fight from Dalory and Ryan as well, matching pace to pace. Both you opting to, in order to quit out to menu after the save there in order to speed up the sequence a little bit, which is going to cause those timers to end up getting paused, which is a very, very nice sort of menuing in order to be able to get as big of an advantage, right? Because this is time without load. So all those quit to menus, even though they're slower in a lot of cases, in real time, as we as humans end up observing it. But in with time without loads, it is actually a lot quicker to be able to do a lot of these quit to menus. But upcoming here is going to be one of the coolest weapons, which is going to be Sword. And Sword has a lot of different sort of movement capabilities around with the speed game, right? So we're going to potentially see like downwards attacks, which are known as pogos, to be able to build a little bit of additional height, upswings in order to get that air retention, as well as get a little bit of additional height, which you can do once in the air before you land back on the ground to be able to refresh that, as well as horizontal attacks in order to be able to maintain ourselves within the air itself. So nicely done from both of our runners so far, as they are going to be continuing to progress on and go to double jump tree.
Yep, we are receiving word that at the sword tree itself, Dalory actually had a 5-second lead. So that lead did basically come together, and we saw they were perfectly synced during one jump. Although Ryan got some bad luck and immediately got a pickup, which the animation for that wasted a bit of time. So they're a little bit desynced again, but still super close to each other for this stage of the run. Of course, they've only really done a couple of torch tricks so far. There is a lot worse that's coming up very shortly that could easily lose minutes of time if our runners can't get it. But that's coming up after double jump tree, so for a little bit more time, they're just making their way through, getting some nice quit to menus, and just doing some great double jump movement to get out of this little hole that we're in.
Yeah, all right. So doing a sword slash, double jumping, and then sword slashing immediately after the double jump is going to allow us to hover up a little bit. So on the right, we're going to see Dalory also use this tech. Nicely done, both of our runners getting that keystone first try. That is honestly like probably one of my favorite bits of sword movement. And Ryan on the left busting out some additional just optimal sort of platforming using those sword hovers. I love to see that. And so as our runners are going to be heading up, we are going to come to our first major sequence break in the run itself, and probably honestly the most difficult sequence break in the entire run, as they are going to continue to kill these slimes in order to get some experience. So eyes on the left, Ryan is going to be the first one in order to come up to the sequence break, and so we will see how he does.
Yeah, and it's also notable, this trick is really, really difficult, but there is a shard that we can grab to make it easier. That's sticky, which will let us stick to walls. Dalory went and grabbed that. Ryan did not. So Ryan has to do a harder version of this trick without being able to hold onto the wall like we see Dalory doing to get a good setup. So Dalory is going to be the first to make it.
Wow.
Yes! First try basically from him, absolutely nailing it with that setup. And while Ryan hits the ledge, gets his double jumps back, and will also make it up very, very quickly. An excellent showcase of a trick that is way, way harder than our runners make it look.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, and that's also important, right? This is a tournament run. This is a no reset setting. So our runners, you only get one shot in a tournament, especially in a single elimination bracket match. That was absolutely critical, especially for Dalory, whose PB as well as sort of average time in this tournament has been a lot slower than their opponent, Ryan, right? We saw that upset from Dalory in the previous round in the tournament against a better seeded player. And so if they are going to want to be able to close out a win versus Ryan, they have to stay close, right? They have to stay close. They have to bank on Ryan making mistakes to push them further and further away from his PB. And then if they are in the hunt, they are going to be able to pounce and be able to potentially take a victory. And so far, Dalory is putting on a clinic.
Yeah, absolutely. Through this early game, just basically perfect movement from him. Ryan just having a little bit of a slip up with that harder version of door skip, not having sticky to be able to set up. He did get through fairly quickly, and there's still a lot of the game to go. We're only 6 minutes in on a category that likely take over an hour. Maybe not for Ryan, considering his previous times have been ridiculously good. But again, Dalory's keeping pace so far, and that's something that's like ridiculously good as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so both of our runners picking up the Resilience Shard, which is going to get us a nice little bit of damage reduction. But Dalory on the right is going to come up to the next sequence break. Don't worry, it's much more relaxing than Door Skip itself. Picking up a little additional Spirit Light. And Dalory is actually not going to go for the cutscene skip. So this is going to be a way for Ryan to be able to take some time back away from their opponent, as we see a small little Shriek cutscene coming from Dalory's side on the right. So Ryan on the left is going to be jumping up this wall, trying to get a specific jump cadence on this tree. Not quite getting the jumps they want, but they are still able to get up there. And yeah, beautiful sword tech there to be able to get through. And does not jump off the leaf, so they have to do some additional sword slashes for a little bit of safety. So still saving just a little bit of time over their opponent, but not the cleanest skip in their arsenal so far. But Ryan and Dalory with Sentry now are going to be able to utilize a glitch known as Sentry Jumping to build a bunch of height.
Yep, Sentry Jumping, for those who don't know, is when you use Sword and Sentry basically right next to each other. If you're on the ground, it is the exact same frame, and it just absolutely yeets you upwards, and super duper useful for being able to move around, skip certain puzzles, and just go fast in general. There's also a version of it in the air that's much more difficult, as instead of being on the same frame, you have to press Sword and Sentry exactly 3 frames apart. It's tight, and even like experienced runners can miss them sometimes. So we'll see how many of those our runners go for, how many of them they get, and how many backups they need to do in order to keep launching themselves into the air with these Sentry jumps.
All right, now as we're going to be heading over to the right side of the map, we're going to be picking up these 2 ice stones, which are actually just keystones, which is pretty funny, but they are their sort of like own pickup itself, and this is going to allow us to be able to progress into the next area. So nice Sentry jump from Dalory on the right, misses the bow shot, so they're actually going to have to fall back down, and instead of taking a double jump sequence off the spikes, they are going to opt to just take the pole in order to be able to fling themselves upwards in order to get up. But Ryan on the left is now going to be coming up to that same bit of movement that we saw from Dalory. So we're going to see if they nail the bow shot. They do. Okay, so that is... Oh, no, they missed the bow shot as well. So, yeah, Ryan instead is going to opt for that damage boost with the sword hover in order to get the Ice Stone. So, parity from our runners in that section, so no real-time save time loss. But on the right, Dalory is going to be coming up to their blind swim.
Yeah, this is the other main trick in the early game that can really lose a lot of time. Both of our runners will have 4 health for this section, which is the minimum that you need to do it, and they grabbed another shard earlier in the game. And the reason that they need that 4 health and that shard is they can take enough damage boost with enough iframes from that first trick that Dalory did, hitting the spikes, to get to a save point midway through. He will be getting some extra iframes from spikes in the water here, and then making it through very nice and easy. Ryan is about to do the exact same thing on his side, so keep an eye out if you missed it the first time, although it's not exactly easy to see what's going on with all the dark water in the way, but our runners don't need to see. So Ryan, just barely clips the edge of the hitbox on his way down, but does make it through right after. That's still a very, very great downswim from both of our runners.
Yeah, so honestly, parity from both of our runners once again. Dalory with the intentional death in order to make the swim a little bit easier, but then Ryan just taking a death and having to go for a second attempt. So both of them dying once unintentionally in that swim sequence is going to be parity. But here, Dalory on the right is going to be coming over for dash, which is going to allow us to build a nice bit of horizontal speed. And so we are going to see how Dalory is going to opt to get out of this area.
Yeah, most runners at a high level will do a really cool looking trick. Instead of going around this area that you're supposed to go through, use one of these crushers to get up to that ledge. Ooh, that was a really nice recovery there from Dalory to be able to make it back up and out. And we're going to see the same thing from Ryan. Does it a lot more smoothly, but both of them do manage to get the way back up first try, and that saves them some extra energy so that they can use an extra sentry later on as they are going to grab our next shard that we need for bow combat.
Whoa, nice pole climb there from Ryan. That is some really cool tech. I rarely actually ever get to see that from runners itself. And that's just very nominative of Ryan, as he is definitely a top end speedrunner within this category, especially. And so just busting out all these tiny optimizations. And I mean, just look at this. They're like one quit to menu apart. And I mean, Dalory's still in the lead because they have lower overall time if they were tied on like the same like pixel, or if not. But here is going to be the second half of the poison swim, and it is the more difficult section. So on the right, Dalory's going up and they get the checkpoint. Oh, Ryan not quite getting the checkpoint, so they're going to have to go for a second attempt. Dalory with an intentional death there. They're coming to the harder part, and they were able to get through first try, and Ryan able to get to that halfway point. But is Ryan going to be able to close out this difficult segment? And they are. Beautiful swim for both of our runners, with Dalory having just slightly cleaner poison water swim.
Yeah, that being said, Dalory did use some extra energy needing to heal before the swim, and so actually didn't have enough to do the sentry jumps all the way up to the lever, had to take a little bit of a slower route around, and that's allowed Ryan to catch up in this section before they hit the purple eye. The way we intend to, you can't shoot arrows out of bounds in this category, much like you can't Ori out of bounds. So runners do have to move the water down so they can hit that the intended way. But with that hit, our runners will now be heading into what normally in the run would be Hornbug, but we don't want to do Hornbug right now. So we're just going to skip on over it. As you'll hopefully see from both of our runners, Ryan is just a second and Dalory a couple seconds behind.
All right, and so we're going to see a regen dash. Yeah, nice from Ryan. Great wave dash, and they're able to get over that trigger. That was incredibly close from Ryan. If they had landed on that ground just a little bit further to the left, they would have actually ended up spawning the Hornbug fight and would have had to quit to menu in order to reload in order to try the sequence break again. But here, Ryan setting up for a really precise trick, and they're able to get it. They're able to skip that tree cutscene there, or enter it, excuse me, and then quitting to menu is going to allow them to move through without having to do some blind movement. So really nice sequence break there from Ryan, able to save a good number of seconds there, while Dalory is going to opt to watch his tree cutscene. And I don't blame them for that. I mean, it's an incredibly precise timing press in order to get it. As Ryan is going to be opening up the entryway towards Moldwood Depths, but we can't quite go in there for two reasons. One is because we're running MQO, and that would be out of sequence, which is not allowed in the rules. But then also we actually end up needing the skill Glide before we the entrance to Moldwood Depths truly opens.
Yeah, we are receiving word that Ryan has made up time and is now 1 second ahead of Dalory at Bash. So still a super close race, but Ryan making up some time will put himself back in lead, and that now puts the onus on Dalory to keep saving time and hope that Ryan maybe misses a couple more tricks here and there. But Ryan's looking spectacular, even with a couple flubs here and there. But still anyone's race, as we are finished grabbing our bow shards from the wild. We'll get some upgrades for them later, but just grabbing the very convenient bow upgrades that are all over this early section of the game to allow us to have some expedited combat later on in the run.
All right, now Ryan's gonna come over, say hi to our friendly neighborhood toad. I think he's a toad. He might be a frog, but gonna be none other than Qualok. And so Qualok is gonna tell us to do the thing, and so that's gonna allow us to get access into Glades as we head over to the left side in order to progress towards a Wellspring, which is going to have an escape sequence, as well as being able to pick up a very important upgrade, which is going to allow us to start a fast travel from anywhere. And like, fun fact, when the game first released, you just natively started with the ability to fast travel from anywhere. But in a patch, they actually made it a requirement in order to be able to purchase an upgrade, which I believe costs 500 Spear Light. But the good news for us is that we don't actually need to purchase it in Glades. We are actually going to purchase it right before the Wellspring escape. And oh, Ryan missing a sequence break there. And Dalory, that's not allowed. Dalory clipping out of bounds by accident. So they have to quit the menu in order to be able to attempt a regen dash if they so decide. But instead, they are just going to opt to go for a bash sequence, which is a good option, I feel, as well.
Yeah, walls are just suggestions for speedrunners, but ooh, gets a really good bow launch there. Ryan attempted that, but did not manage to get it. Something else that Ryan did not get was a little bit of dialogue skip there at the beginning of the Wellspring. So Dalory showing off some really cool technical movement here in order to make up some time through this section. Both of our runners now at this point have bought their extra upgrades. They upgrade Splinter, which makes our bow shoot way more shots. And they also buy a shard called Overcharge, which will let us expend less energy for bow and sentry at the cost of taking double damage. So it's an incredibly risk-reward shard, but for runners as good as these, they will be getting a lot of reward for hopefully not a lot of risk.
Wow, nice mid-air sentry there from Dalory in order to be able to get up, and they're going to go for another wave dash. Man, I don't think I've seen Dalory really fail any wave dash except for like this one and then like one other. But yep, nice sentry jump there from Dalory as well to be able to get up and over a cutscene trigger, as Ryan is just ahead by just mere single numbers of seconds, right? And this is a 1 hour category, right? And we're already like 16 minutes into the run. And Ryan, with an unintentional death there, is actually going to put Dalory into the lead here. But no, Dalory is also going to be taking a death. They were a little bit too far to the left, so they ended up bonking their head against a ceiling instead of being able to get up. So Ryan is back in the lead. This race is so close. I hope they are able to keep this pace as we progress into the mid game.
Yeah, that wave dash right there is really precise to be able to just barely skim over the top of the water without jumping up into the spike wheels above. Both runners will get it on their second try, just as both runners get a cute little trick where if you sentry jump on your last hit on that little pustule, you're a little bit higher up when the cutscene finally ends. So both runners saving just fractions of a time everywhere as we get into two simultaneous cutscenes, seeing what our characters from Ori and the Blind Forest are up to while we're off on this speedy adventure.
Okay, so coming into Wellspring after this cutscene is going to end, we're going to see both of our runners go for a major sequence break where they are going to be accessing grapple tree through a different route. Normally you're supposed to get grapple within the game and then you are able to do this, but using those sentry jumps in the middle of the air is going to allow us. So Ryan on the left, able to get it first try, but no, they take a death turtle. So now Dalory on the right is going to be in the lead if they're able to get this first try, but now they may potentially actually have to end up waiting for a little bit. Oh, no, not quite enough height, and they only have one more attempt at this mid-air sentry, and they're able to get it. So Dalory is absolutely in clear lead right now as Ryan has to rewatch that cutscene because they did not get a safety save checkpoint after entering Wellspring. Man, what a turn of events, Turtle.
Yeah, Dalory did grab that safety checkpoint. They didn't need it, but they still grabbed it. So I do like that strat, especially considering how low of health they were before that. And of course, making it just makes it that much better. So they will actually be managing to get to grapple first ahead of their opponent. Ryan does manage to make his way up through that narrow spike gap on his second time, will grab the lever, and that also counts as a checkpoint for the system. So if he dies now, he won't have to watch that long cutscene again. Thank goodness. But he'll need to make his way up to grapple. Actually, both runners are going to high-five on this lever real quick before Ryan has to go to grapple, and Dalory will move further up into the next room of the Wellspring.
Yeah, I like the sequencing from Ryan, getting this lever on the way towards Grapple Tree. I like it a little bit more because after you get Grapple Tree, you actually end up getting a full energy refill. So Ryan's going to have an additional energy over their opponent as they are going to be exiting the first of 3 rooms within Wellspring itself. But Dalory is going to be the first in order to make it to the second room, and they are going to be damage boosting through those lasers. Nice, that was actually really close to them taking a death. But here they are going to be equipping bow on 1 health, and they are going to be melting these enemies.
Yep, this is why we spend all that time grabbing bow shards, bow upgrades, and the spirit light to get them. And that's because bow combat is incredibly fast with everything that we have. Knowing where the enemies spawn also is great, and you can just sit right in front of them, point your bow at them, and delete them, as Dalory has already finished this first fight arena of the game. There's a lot more fighting to be done, but that was a very clean first arena for him.
All right, so Ryan is now going to be coming up to the arena with less than 1 health, and they are actually going to take a safety heal here. I really like that decision because it only costs like a fraction of a second in order to get through. Dalory, I don't know if they actually ended up getting that, their sort of, it's not really a sequence break, but it allows us to start a little bit further to the right after this quit to menu. Nah, they didn't quite get it. That's okay. That's okay. There's a wave dash right there. Nicely done from Dalory on the right as Ryan cleans up the arena, no problem. And they are just ever so slightly behind their opponent. But Dalory, with like almost half a minute of a lead here, Turtle, this is exactly what Dalory needs, especially coming into the mid game, which is going to have some really difficult portions, as well as the boss rush section itself. And then, of course, at the end game, there's always going to be Willow's End. So Ryan's definitely not out of this race yet, especially because we're not even halfway through the run. But this is exactly what Dalory needs in order to be able to potentially take a win.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it was really just that one slip up from Ryan of dying and having to rewatch that cutscene. But otherwise, both the runners have been doing every single strat, first or second try, just flawlessly getting through this area. And hopefully Dalory will be able to keep that up for whatever strats he chooses to do here in the Wellspring Escape. There are some significantly risky tricks here that if you mess them up, you do not get to try them a second time. Just have to restart the escape. So we'll see how many of those Dalory goes for as they start their escape, hopefully by skipping the cutscene here. Yep. They get the slightly slower version of it. Can't pause on the exact right frame, but hey, that's a one-frame trick. This version is still very fast, so they will be reloading, and that will be the start of their Wellspring Escape.
All right, so coming to Wellspring Escape, we don't have full energy because we ended up skipping that cutscene, but that's okay. We don't really need too much energy in this. I think like optimally there's only really like 1 or 2 sections where you can pop in a sentry jump. Nice strat there from Dalory, able to skip that damage boost there for a little bit of additional safety, right? Because any single death that they take in the escape is actually going to end up causing them to have to restart the entire escape sequence from the beginning. So here Dalory's going to be going over nice bash. Here's going to be a grapple, and here's one of the sentry jumps you can do if you want to, but no, opts to go for the double grapple. I really like that play from them a lot, and they are going to be coming into the water wheel. 1 bash, 2 bash, 3 bash, and they do go for the 4th bash for a little bit of additional safety. Nicely done from Dalory. They are going to be making it to the So Soggy section, and I liked what you said, Turtle, in our last race, that this is kind of like a really good stopping point for what we would consider to be the early game.
Yeah, this is the first major sequence of events in the story as well. Of course, we're following main quest order, so we have to do all of the actual main quests in order. And this sequence right here is a bit of a break as we watch the best cutscene in the entire game. Dalory's in it, Ryan's about to get to it. Both of them having very, very great early games. Again, just that one slight death for Ryan that actually cost 40 seconds because of the cutscene. Really the only thing that's separating our runners at this point. But for now, the early game is over. There's still technical movement to be done, but instead of going around and collecting skills, now we're going to be collecting teleporters and bosses for the mid game.
All right, there we have a resync on the timers. We'll just be able to absolutely see how far ahead Dalory is. I think that was a 21-27 So Soggy, so we're going to see what Ryan So Soggy is going to be, as they are going to be talking to these lovely little wooden creatures. But here, Dalory is going to be heading down and over. They are actually going to go to Luma Pools, and you might think this is out of order for the quest itself, but the flag itself to be able to sort of progress you within the story quest line of the game actually occurs once you do the Qualok boss fight at the end of Luma Pools. So we're actually not breaking any rules. We're not doing anything technically out of sequence by just coming into Luma Pools, grabbing Water Dash, and then progressing towards Silent Woods in order to be able to chat with Qualok and get our quote-unquote first Wisp.
Yeah, there are a couple ways to do this skip here in order to get into Luma Pool without glide. Dalory's going for a wave dash setup. He had a little bit of difficulty bonking with it, but barely manages to get over those spikes with some really, really good sword hovers, and that will be his early entrance into Luma Pools. We'll see what strat Ryan goes for. Dalory's strat isn't technically the fastest, but it's a pretty safe and easy route compared to, what I was hoping Ryan would do, because this strat looks cool. I love that movement.
Oh, that was absolutely textbook from Ryan. Beautiful entry into Luma Pools, as Dalory is now going to be activating this lever, and so upcoming here is actually going to be the biggest source of RNG within Luma Pools. We're actually going to end up skipping a puzzle sequence by taking an intentional death after grabbing a very specific checkpoint, which is going to cause an underwater swim puzzle to end. But taking that intentional death ends up causing some RNG with the upcoming area. So eyes on the right as Dalory is going to be coming back into this menu. So upcoming here for Dalory is going to be an arena, and Ryan taking a death in not quite the place that they actually end up wanting to, so they are going to have to double damage boost again. So on the right, Dalory is going to break this floor here with this exploding torpedo enemy. And in this arena, if the door is closed, that is bad RNG. If the door is open, that is good RNG. And once again, the only reason why we have to worry about this is because we took that intentional death to skip that puzzle early on. And oh yeah, Dalory has the door closed, Turtle. So if Ryan is able to get through their first try with the door being open, this is going to be massive. So eyes on the left. Is Ryan able to get through? No, this door is closed as well. So now it's a race. Who can get through this arena first, Turtle?
It's a coin flip, honestly. The only thing that our runners can really do is just to dash across the surface of the water as fast as possible so they can check as many times. Ryan gets it second try. Oh no, Dalory having some horrible RNG. That was his third closed door, I believe. There's nothing you can really do about this aside from just reloading. If a runner's really stuck, they can do the fight, but that is slow. Okay, Dalory does get an open door on their fourth try. That's just bad luck that caused that time loss, and now Ryan has once again taken the lead. Not by a ton, but by enough that we'll have to see if Dalory can catch up.
Yeah, actually, it looks like Dalory's still going to be in the lead. They are going to be the first to go for this mid-air sentry, as we are just pausing Ryan's screen in order to resync the timer so that you folks at home can know exactly how close this race is. And so Ryan's going to go up now. Nice mid-air sentry gets up their first try. And so Dalory's going to be the first in this keystone section in order to grab it. Nice grapples there and goes for underplank. Nicely done. That is actually really quite difficult in order to get through. And Dalory, this is just so nominative of them. And this is like exactly what they need, as we see Ryan matching that tech pace for pace. Just nailing all of this optimal movement just all over the places, really showing them at their prime. And they're in the hunt, Turtle, right? This is what we're talking about. All they need to do is stay close to Ryan, if not be slightly ahead, as they're going to be coming into the mid and late game in order to be able to potentially pull a win, right? This is it, right? This is one game. They get one game, and that's it. At the end, there's going to be a winner, and the person who ends up taking a loss is out of the tournament, right? So this is our runners' only chance to be able to progress towards the semifinals. And so Dalory is absolutely doing exactly what they need, except for taking a damage there. That was a little spooky. But no, they're able to get that waypoint checkpoint, and now they're going to be heading to the right-hand side of the screen to be able to make their way towards Silent Woods.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm just going to shout out Dalory here. Super duper impressive gameplay. We do have predictions for the bracket from the community, and no one really expected a ton of Dalory being the 10th seed coming into prelims a little late, so no one really had a good gauge on where he was at, but defeated Mava by 8 seconds. That was an upset, and right now is looking to keep pace with our number 2 seed of the entire tournament. Just phenomenal gameplay out of him. Phenomenal of Ryan as well, but like, again, only one can win, and right now, Dalory has that slight edge.
Yeah, it may sound like we're really talking Ryan up like a lot, but just once again, during qualifiers, Ryan was one of 2 people in the entire tournament to be able to close out sub 1 hour. And they didn't just do it once during quals. That's right. They got 2 sub 1 hours within their qualifier round itself out of 5 potential runs. So like a 40% chance for Ryan to be able to close out a sub 1 hour. But I mean, I don't think they're on sub 1 hour pace right now for themselves. But this is amazing. Like Dalory is just keeping pace, as well as just having really phenomenal gameplay just all over the place with all these difficult bits of tech, like beautiful wave dash here, as Ryan on the left is now going to go for the wave dash, and they also get it. So both of our runners nailing tech, but Dalory is going to watch the cutscene, but Ryan on the left gets a sentry jump, is going to get up and over, but they're not quite far enough over to the left, so they are going to quit to menu. But that's massive. That's really big for Ryan. This is actually going to probably put them in a slight lead over their opponent.
Yeah, great decision to do that. That can be a relatively difficult cutscene skip, but Ryan does manage to get it after maybe a couple of missed sentries, but there are still many more skips to do. There's one coming up for runners right here. Dalory first will, gets bonked into the cutscene, while Ryan does manage to get over it first try. So Dalory looks like they're just going to watch it. Ori is humorously floating in midair, but that does mean that Ori is not moving forward, while Ryan's Ori absolutely is. Skip that cutscene is blasting forward into this bubbly section of Silent Woods, but no, there wasn't a bubble for Ryan to land on there, and that is a death, a short one, but a death nonetheless, giving Dalory time to catch back up after that cutscene.
All right. right? And so our runners are continuing through Silent Woods. Nice movement from both of them. Ryan running out of energy here, so that they have to abandon going for that midair sentry. But man, after this key door is actually going to be another massive sequence break. So we're going to see how our runners are going to handle that. Do they go for coup skip? Or do they just opt to end up watching the cutscene and taking a little bit of a slower time as they're coming through Silent Woods? So Ryan is going to be going through this section, getting that cutscene skip, and then coup skip is going to be coming up right here. So eyes on the left and on the right, because both of them are going for the skip at the same time. Ryan able to get it up there. First try, Dalory having to use a couple of additional sentries, but both of them getting coup skip, but it's not over yet. There's still a lot of difficult movement. Ryan not getting the mid-air sentries. No, he gets it on the third, so he's still able to go through, but this run is neck and neck. And oh, beautiful tech from Ryan getting it first try, but Dalory is going to have to try a second attempt. And wow, I just cannot believe how close this race is, Turtle, and we're almost 30 minutes into the run.
Yeah, we are on the same cutscene. They are matching each other trick for trick. He is seconds ahead, seconds behind. It doesn't matter. These two are just pulling off a phenomenal show. We do have to go back and in order to get coup, the main quest order category. Luckily, doing the coup skip is still faster, and both of our runners managed to do it. Dalory having a little bit more trouble managing to get back to the checkpoint, but both of them do manage it relatively quickly. And so we'll be back on coup, back neck and neck once again, as we are going to head through the section more or less intended up until the very bitter end.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And we now see Ryan like clawing back that like 37-second deficit, and now is going to be 15 seconds ahead of their opponent at that coup grab. So that's big. I mean, this is just like this is very nominative of Ryan, right? Like, why beat around the bush? Just say the word, right? And it's just like he's the second seed for a reason, just able to claw back seconds and seconds and just nailing all of these incredibly difficult and incredibly tight things. And here, watch this. Ryan on the left is going to be going for an intentional death, right? They were able to bob and weave around that exploding dude as they were grabbing the keystone, and taking that intentional death is going to allow them to do something known as a ghost door and get through that key door a little bit quicker. And then Ryan, nice movement there, but Dalory also able to grab that ghost door. Just very impressive stuff. No, they actually go for a quit to menu. That's a very interesting decision. I'll have to wonder about that a little bit later on. But both of our runners able to get through Silent Woods, the scariest portions, and they are now going to be heading all the way over towards Windswept Wastes, where they will be going for feeding ground skip, and then going up grab and burrow and doing some cool things. And Ryan taking a little bit of damage, but that's okay, because there's not really going to be any more damage sources that we have to worry about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our runners being this close means that there's really nowhere to avert our eyes to, as this area is a little bit spooky, a little bit sad, and it might get a lot worse.
No, it's not
Ryan,
sad. Don't say that.
they're
He's
like,
just going to take a nap.
there are like skulls and bones everywhere. It's like a graveyard. Those are just sad by default, like, right?
I mean, it feels comfy to me. I don't know where you hang out on your weekends, but...
All right, to each their own, I suppose. But Ryan is going to pull off a small cutscene skip. Hopefully they will get another one. Really difficult to get this one. You have to have some great movement. Ooh, they managed to bonk on that. So we will see a little bit of a jump scare. The streak is playing peekaboo with us, and Dalory is coming up to that exact same section. Again, seconds behind as we are about to finish off this coup section, and then we'll make our way into the rest of the mid-game with boss collection.
Yeah, I like that quick to menu from Dalory. It's just going to make getting through the section without triggering the first cutscene a little bit easier, but they do take a damage, but that's okay. They're still able to get through. So here they're going to get a peekaboo from Shriek, but on the left, we are actually going to see Ryan, who is going to be the first to progress through. So here, Ku's just taking a nap now, and so we are waking up from our nap. We get up a little bit earlier, so and we're getting a little hungry, so we are going to go to Feeding Grounds and progress into Windswept Wastes. But there, Dalory on the right is now going to be placing Ku down and going for some nap time as well.
Yeah. Both runners, again, I can't believe how close this is, but I believe both runners will, the mid-game, be doing the order of Moore, Bauer, Quolok, as we do need those bosses before we get Sire, simply because Sire is like a different part of the main quest in terms of the order. You do need to have all the other wisps first. So both runners will have to go fight the bosses and say hi to Big Friendly Bear, who is the best of the bosses. Well, not a boss, he's just friendly. And Mora Moldwood happens to be very close to where we spawn in after the end of that little cutscene lore time that we just ignore because it's slow. So both of our runners will be heading there first into the spooky darkness in order to find and fight a giant spider, so we can get the eyes of the forest. I think the eyes of the forest is Mora.
Yeah, I apologize. I've run the superior version of all challenges, so I got the sequencing of where they're going to be going a little bit out of order. So instead of going to Snacktown first, we are actually going to end up heading for some boss fights in order to wake up an appetite. So coming tomorrow, we're actually going to see some really cool attacks. So in this area, in this dungeon, we're going to see a lot of like very spooky darkness that's going to be closing into Ori itself. And if that fully closes in on Ori, then that is going to be instant death. However, there are a number of skills within the game that actually end up causing that darkness timer to reset. And so normally you're supposed to like get a bunch of fireflies and go through, grab the skill Flash, which is at a skill location within Moldwood Depths. But no, we're going to be sequence breaking that instead and utilizing bow. So every single time we actually end up firing the bow, it does reset that darkness timer, allowing us to be able to just sequence break having to use the intended mechanics within the dungeon itself. And Ryan just still capitalizing on their lead here. They are going to be most likely the first to make it to Mora, and certainly were the first in order to make it into Moldwood Depths.
Yeah, Ryan had an 18-second lead when they completed the Silent Woods, and so we'll be continuing to carry that lead as best as they can into Mora. Of course, boss fights can be very scary, Mora especially, as we don't have as much health and energy as we will for some of the later bosses. So that can make this fight particularly terrifying. As again, we saw in the last race, hopefully our runners have a bit easier of a time, don't end up on 1 health, but we'll have to see how Ryan does, as they're the first to start this. Dalory should be following up shortly. They're just making their way through the rest of Moldwoods, again, very, very quickly, doing some great wave dash tech and pulling out their bow only when very necessary. Ooh, does almost sentry jump into spikes, and then the darkness does get Dalory there. But a quick checkpoint right before save them, as they are just barely dying into the darkness again. They are right below Mora and just need to get up in order to catch up to the fight that we see Ryan already starting.
Okay, Ryan, nice stun there on Mora, using that sword for a little bit of additional damage, triggering the first sort of intended cutscene at a specific health gate with Mora. So Mora's now going to be heading over to the left and doing this nice big jump attack, which is going to buy us some time to be able to work in some additional damage. Running low on energy, Ryan is going to be a little bit spooky, and they get a really bad pattern here, but that's okay. They're just able to utilize that sword in order to be able to continue to progress through into the next phase. And so taking a little bit of a time to be able to start this escape sequence to grab some additional energy for a little bit of safety so that Ryan can actually end up healing before they end up going into the final phase. While meanwhile, on the right, Dalory is going to be watching the initial cutscene as Ryan is now going to be heading into the final phase. Nice regen jump there. I love working those in just wherever you can. As Ryan also gets a full energy refill here, utilizing Sentry in order to be able to get some initial damage burst on the start of this final phase.
Yeah. And you also notice Ryan went into his shards. He unequips Overcharge, so he's no longer taking half damage, but he's also now using a lot more energy. Instead, he equips Reckless, which does a little bit extra damage, and Ori also takes a little bit of extra damage. Not as much as Overcharge, but as it can still make the fight very spooky, but that extra damage from Reckless making Ryan's fight very, very quick. Meanwhile, Dalory is also doing a very quick fight, manages to get through phase 1 with basically no damage taken and only a little bit of energy used. So he's basically full on both those resources as he starts his own phase 3. Again, just a couple seconds behind.
All right, so we're going to see how Dalory does in this final phase of the fight, laying down those sentries for a little bit of extra damage burst, grabs that Reckless shard in order to be able to help add that 15% additional damage. And nice sword slashes there, gets one stun onto Mora, and they're going to go back to those bow attacks. And nice, they are able to get through, as now Mora's going to be calling the darkness, but with the bow, that's okay, because we can actually just end up resetting the darkness timer with every single bow. Gets a little bit of a bad pattern there with the boss heading over to the left, but that's okay. They're just able to go up, do some sword slashes, and they just need one more shot. There it is. And so Mora is going to go down. So Ryan with a nice, pretty comfy lead as they are going to be heading into Bowers Reach, where once again, we are just going to be sequence breaking, grabbing the skill location in this. So here we're going to see Flap and Ryan with the switch to regen. Doesn't quite get the control. So if you actually swap at a correct time there with with off of Flap into regen, you can actually like get control of Ori for a little bit, shortening the amount of time until Ori ends up standing up. But that's okay. That's okay. That was actually very close from Ryan.
We are hearing that Ryan has a 38-second lead now after the Moira death. So he is extending his lead by seconds each split. But again, it's still just a couple seconds. Definitely anything can change in this run, especially once we get into the Shriek RNG at the very end. But before that, our runners will still have to clear out the mid game, and that includes Bowers Reach, where, like Muffin mentioned, we're not going to actually go and grab Grenade because we don't need it. For one, we can just kind of jump up like Ryan did, and does slide a little bit back down to take a death. But you can just see the great movement again. Takes 1 damage boost in order to get up here, and then it looks like he's trying to sentry jump, but okay, yep, was just getting a little bit of wall hugging from Ori. But now we can see why we don't need Grenade, because with some incredibly great movement and placement, Ryan can just leave a sentry near the ice, and oh yeah, sentries also emit a tiny burst of fire when they die. So with that great placement, that'll let Ryan keep moving on without having to go out of his way to grab Grenade at all. And with another wave dash, just styling on this area from Ryan.
Yeah, nice movement so far from Ryan, just taking a little bit of extra time to be able to get those setups in order to be able to show off what the amazing movement that they are pretty comfy with. As Ryan is going to still be in the lead as they are going to be coming into this arena fight, which is honestly like it's not too terribly difficult for us speedrunners just because we have tools such as Bash as well as damage output from Bow. So they're waiting for the Gorlek to and then bashing off of them to be able to get to the other side. Then nice bash there from Ryan. Nice bow shots to be able to push that bug into the spikes to instantly kill it. And then they are going for bow shots. Yeah, they were able to get that Rhino bug. That can actually be pretty deceivingly difficult because it's so low to the ground, and Splinter oftentimes does not actually end up getting all of those shots for the damage output into it. But oh yeah, Ryan with a little bit of too early of a bash to be able to get an optimal cycle there on that last enemy, but no problem. They just have to do another bash to get through. And so Ryan on the left is going to be the first one to make it to the Bowers Reach escape, where we are also going to be getting our next Wisp. But also there's going to be a pretty massive, not massive, a pretty nice sizable cutscene skip here on Ryan's side if they are able to close it out.
Yeah, this cutscene skip is really tricky. You have to be close, high enough so that you get over the cutscene trigger, but if you go too high, you void out. And so Ryan needs to sentry jump here, there, sentry jump here, with some nice timing. It looks a little low, but he's confident in it. And yeah, he was right. That is enough to get into the escape. Now there's a little bit of a wrinkle where if he dies during the escape, he has to do that trick again, which can be very difficult. With the level of execution that we've seen so far from Ryan, I don't think he'll be taking a death here, unless I cast a curse to it, of course. But no, I believe in Ryan. He's going to do amazingly here.
Indeed, yeah. Oh, beautiful regen jump there from Ryan. That was really nice. I was going to point out that he's only on 3 health, and with Overcharge equipped, that could spell a one-shot death. Yeah, look at that. The spikes dealing 4 damage, right? And so doing that regen jump was absolutely massive for Ryan. If they had taken a death there, that would have ended up putting Dalory not only in a tight state, but in the lead in this race. And so Ryan just pulling out that beautiful routing sort of backup and just being aware of their resources and what they can and can't do in order to be able to close it out, right? Because in a tournament, it's almost more important to just be incredibly consistent and not take major mistakes to get deaths, right? And Ryan knows this. Ryan knows that if he just executes in his mechanics, which is so nominative of Ryan to be able to just pull out these optimal strats, then they know that they should be ahead of Dalory because they have a better personal best. They've been clocking out the second best timings in the qualifier stage itself, right? And so if they're just able to get through consistently, then they have a very, very high probability that they will walk away with a win, as Ryan is just memeing around here with Quallock as we wait for the escape sequence to start.
Yeah, I love when runners do this, because otherwise it's just a cutscene that you have to watch. But Ryan deciding to show off and have some fun with it as he begins his Quallock boss fight. Dalory's still not far behind, just has to watch that same cutscene. Dalory runs into a little bit of spike, so we may have to see them regen a bit more to start off the fight. But Ryan will be the one actually starting the escape first. Does some dashes into some hands. That will be some damage there. But trying to make through this escape segment as fast as possible. Kolak will rubber band, so the faster Ryan can go, the faster Kolak will catch up, and therefore the faster the boss fight can start. So we'll see if Ryan decides to heal here. Yep, does some more regen jumps just to get back to full health before his fight truly starts. Kolak can have several really bad patterns and several really good patterns. So starting off with the ceiling hits really good. The hands are a little bit annoying, but Ryan's doing a great job of avoiding them. And yeah, already on to the last part of the Kolak fight.
Yeah, and they're not able to get that energy crystal break that they may have wanted, so we might actually have to end up seeing some sword strats coming out of Ryan, but still, they do have a good amount of energy, so just continuing to bow the boss. Oh, they do take a damage. If Ryan takes a death here, he has to start the entire fight sequence over, but nicely done, just staying out of the water for long enough, and yeah, the black shots are so annoying in the water because they do have tails on them that can actually end up causing damage. Ryan on 1 health, he has to close this out. He almost gets hit by that hand, but no, Ryan able to close out the fight and continue on with their speed run.
Man, here I was hoping we wouldn't have heart-clenching fights, but Ryan absolutely nails that ending. Dalory in the fight as well gets some incredible patterns, including a stun on the boss. It does also break the energy to get a full refill. They'll have a lot of energy as they go into phase 2 of this fight. Also getting some great patterns with those bashful enemies to get some extra damage onto Kolak, and now all they have to do is just to continue to get back up in the air so they can time their bow, which again is the best damaging weapon that we have pretty much at all in the game, and especially in terms of this run where, look at that, Dalory just obliterates Kolak just as well as Ryan did, and now they both just have to watch him slowly and sadly wave goodbye to all of his little Moki friends in the background before we can continue into the beginning of the end.
Yeah, so Ryan may still be in the lead by quite a significant amount, right? Over half a minute is a very significant amount of time for Dalory to try and make up, as we are now done with the boss fights, and so we only have one more wisp in Story Temple, but Storytime Temple, excuse me. Which is going to be a nice sort of relaxing sequence of movement, right? And so after Feeding Ground Skip and sort of the movement in Windswept Wastes, Storytime Temple is going to be really nice and relaxing, tons of cutscenes, very easy movement to be able to navigate through it optimally. And then just the escape sequence isn't too spooky. There are some really spooky things that can happen, but with runners of this caliber, I'm sure they'll be able to navigate that. But after all of that is said and done, Turtle, we will be heading into Willow's End, and anything can happen in Willow's End, especially with the final boss fight, Shriek, where there's a lot of RNG in the third phase itself. So 30 seconds, man, if I was Ryan and watching this stream, I would be like, okay, I have to focus up, it's game time, I need to execute, and I need to get through consistently. And if Ryan's able to hold on to this lead, they're able to execute, then they will be pulling away with a win here and moving on to the semifinals. But you just have to be careful, right? Because with Dalory on their tails, if they take a major death, that could spell absolute disaster for them.
Yeah, and so here we are getting to the Feeding Ground Skip. Ryan going for the floor is lava version, where if you just don't touch the ground at all, you don't get any cutscene. And that was pretty close, but walls don't count as floors. So Ryan is able to refresh his abilities on that little tiny wall there in order to make it through without touching the floor, skipping not only a stealth section, but also a little cutscene. Very, very nicely done to get through there. And already into Windswept Waste. That movement is too good. That's incredible to see. I can't believe it.
Amazing. That was so cool. I've never seen that wave dash before. That was awesome. I'm definitely going to be using that one if and when I come back to speedrunning this game. Oh man, that was so cool, Ryan. But yeah, that being said, Ryan's going to be coming over to Burrow Tree. We see also on the right, Dalory is going to be going for Feeding Ground Skip. And I just had another note, Turtle, is that something that's really incredible and really impressive for me so far is that this is a no reset setting, right? Once you start the run in a tournament setting, that's the run you have to finish. And I mean, it's very easy to go 1, 2, 3 minutes outside of your personal best when you try and go for these no reset runs. But Dalory putting on a clinic, man. They are playing with incredible finesse. They are just around 8 seconds away from their PB after defeating Qualak, which is just absolutely incredible. But oh no, Dalory taking a little bit of damage. No, it takes the death, but that's okay because the save checkpoint is incredibly close. It's literally right next to where they ended up taking the death.
Yeah, still, if they do want that PB, they know not only have to save those 8 seconds, but also the little time that they just lost from that death. Luckily, with how fast they've been going before already, like, that could definitely happen. Well, of course, they also have to stop bonking their head on the sandwall, but there we go. Get through it. They will be moving on to Burrow. However, in order to beat Ryan at this pace, they will not only have to beat their own PB, they'll also have to save some more time over that. Because just Ryan is just that skilled of an opponent to be going up against in this race.
I know we've like said this a lot, but it is very nominative of Ryan to go for these nominative, really optimal nominative strats, right? It's just so incredibly impressive to just every single time I get to watch Ryan just bust out all these nominative moves whenever they speedrun and just like see them execute each time, right? All these tiny little things like that small regen jump is going to allow them to damage boost here and still have a little bit of safety. So if they accidentally take a little bit of damage here from that gore life, which can happen, or those spikes right there, then they can just continue through. And beautiful mid-air sentry skipping a bash, right? A bash loses you a fraction of a second every single time you actually end up doing a bash because it pauses the game for a very, very slight time while the timer is still going on. So the mid-air sentry, yeah, that's optimal, and that's a 3-frame timing window that is frame perfect. So just beautiful to see Ryan just really living up his name and showing his nominative gameplay off.
Yeah, it seems like there is no strategy that is off the table for him, as he just goes for everything this run and nails it every time. And again, he's doing basically the same strats at the same time, and again, nailing them. Like, these runners just obliterating this game. We do have a little bit of a slow section here on Ryan's side. There are some ways to skip some of these story times. Ryan did manage to sentry jump over one of them earlier, but some of them can also soft lock you, so we might not see Ryan go for all of the craziest strats. Ooh, he did almost jump over that one, but did quick down slash to get back into the cutscene proper and not soft lock this one.
Oh yeah, Dalory just not having enough health, accidentally taking a damage boost to some spikes, and oh no, they have to go.
Ooh. All right. It looks like Dalory has doing the same mid-air sentry jumps in order to get up. Keeping on, will grab that bash just as a safety method, but they are going into Storytime Land as well to start their own cutscenes, as well, cutscenes, but they're just really, really small. Meanwhile, Ryan, there's one long cutscene still left waiting for him before he can start his escape. So we'll see him just stand here looking at some orbs as they orb things, you know, like orbs do. But after that, it will be time for his to escape. And Dalory is still on his heels in this same area, just needs to catch up through the lore before he can do the same.
Yeah, and as we see that there's just under a minute differential as our runners were coming into Storytime Temple, really the story of this race so far, Turtle, is that, I mean, Dalory definitely being behind in terms of seed versus Ryan, right? Being minutes behind of their average time that Ryan was clocking within the qualifier round itself. And Dalory really needed that early game, really needed that mid game to just execute with really clean, precise, deft strokes as they were moving through those sections. And they did it. They executed. They nailed so many difficult things first, second try, as well as just having really good overall movement, right? Their wave dashes have been on point as they were going through. And then Ryan just taking like a massive death during one of the sequences allowed Dalory to actually go into the lead in the mid-game portions itself. But Ryan just clawing back that like a minute and a half over their opponent as they just progressed through, and through that mid game was able to now just come into this escape sequence in the lead. So coming into Willow's End, once again, the race isn't over. Willow's End is probably one of the most technical and difficult sections within the run. But if Ryan just puts on a clinic as they did in the qualifier race that I casted with their Willow's End, then they will absolutely be able to close out this race and take the win, bringing them to that semifinals.
Yeah, of course, before they get there, there is still a little bit of difficulty. Both of our runners are keyboard and mouse players, and that can make Burrow a little bit difficult when you only have 8 directions to use. And that also gets more intense when you have a giant sandworm with an instant kill hitbox chasing you around. So a couple bonks can easily spell death, and that can mean redoing the entire escape. So Ryan almost got a small bonk earlier, did manage to recover from it though. Now continuing on. Ooh, wow. Oh my god, almost fell into the spikes there, but does recover that one as well. and will be launching up into the end through some very tight corridors. Takes it a little bit slow. I like that, just to not give me as many heart attacks. Doing a wave dash, and right through here, some of the tightest corridors in the entire escape. Does manage to make it through. Ryan has finished up the escape right as Dalory is about to start it. So that is just one escape's difference between our two runners right now.
All right, and so we're going to see, I believe Ryan's screen. Yeah, Ryan's screen is going to be pausing in a bit. Don't worry, it's not because they're lagging or anything. We're just going to be pausing the game screen because once again, we're timing this using a load remover, which basically means that the game is going, the timer, excuse me, is going to be pausing whenever we're in a load screen. And so just because there's a lot of differential based on like hardware and software and other factors that cause loads to actually have varying amounts of time. So using the load remover allows us to be able to end up having a more comparable competitive atmosphere, which is definitely ideal for a tournament itself. But here we go. Yeah, Dalory is going to be going through the escape sequence. And once again, we will be resyncing those screens after Dalory is going to be done with the escape. But that being said, Ryan is going to be the first one to be able to come over here and make their way to launch tree. But Dalory, nicely done through this escape so far. They're going to be coming up into this pause section here. And let's see, yep, they give the tail a little bit of a high five because the tail hurt box is actually non-existent, and so we can actually just exist within that tail without having to worry. But being on 4 HP, they still have to be careful because there are some spooky spikes. They're opting for the grapple. They're also going for the wave dash. Nicely done, able to get up through here. But as Turtle was mentioning, this corridor is very tight, and on keyboard and mouse, it's gonna be scary. We see a bonk, but no, Dalory is able to recover and get through that escape sequence. First try, GG.
Yeah, a couple bonks there that really terrified me, but manages to pull off the rest of the escape pretty cleanly. No more deaths in this area for either of our runners. And that means all that's left for both is Willow's End and Willow's Reach. And we are seeing Dalory is going to walk forward into this cutscene. We saw Ryan just waiting here. And that's because this cutscene takes longer than 42.5 seconds to complete. But for whatever reason, if you just wait 42.5 seconds, the game lets you teleport out. So Ryan did that. Dalory is going to watch the cutscene a little bit slower, but it does have one advantage. And it means that he will have a little bit more health and energy as he goes into the final area, which could save his hide in case something goes wrong in a certain final boss fight that can very, very easily go wrong.
Oh, eyes on the left. Yes, Ryan gets that wave dash. I love that wave dash so much. It's so cool to see. You get like one chance at getting it, and then if the platform like fully falls, or if you get it at the wrong portion of the platform like falling animation, then you actually end up missing it. So it's not only the precise timing to be able to nail the trick, but it's also a specific time with that. But Dalory was going for another really cool wave dash, but they accidentally broke the flower pad. That's okay, Dalory. I love you, man, but maybe next time. But Ryan now is going to be having launch, and they are going to be the first one to head towards Willow's End.
Yeah, unfortunately, there might not be a next time, at least in this tournament for Dalory, if Ryan keeps up their pace. Heading into the final dungeon of the game, 53, little over that minutes. Dalory, again, keeping pace really well, but they still have to get launch after they finish off the elevator before they can catch up. And so there's not much time left, and while things can definitely get very, very spooky in the land of Pepto-Bismol, which is an insta-kill, they have to make up some time over Ryan here in this area alone if Dalory wants to finish out this race as the winner.
Yeah, so coming through Pepto-Bismol Palace, Ryan is going to be the first one to be able to destroy that heart, sequence breaking their boulder escape cutscene. So the music may not be on for Ryan, just as a heads up, that's okay. But Dalory on the right also gets the wave dash. Let's go, gamers. That was so awesome. Heck yeah. And they are going to be making it over to launch tree. But here, Ryan is going to be continuing through using launch in order to be able to build some horizontal speed as well as refreshing that dash. Wow, he almost ended up hitting. No, it's Ryan! Oh, on 1 HP. It's okay. He's still in it. If he takes a death, he has to go all the way back to the start of this section and redo all of this movement. It puts them literally right at the entrance to Willow's End. But no, Ryan, able to recover, is going to be able to make it over to the second corrupted heart.
I can't believe he managed to say that. He launched himself straight into the lava and then just immediately popped a launch in order to survive. Just incredible from him there. Dalory also with a little bit of a backup strat there to get his way up after hit by some of those nasty lasers. But both of them just blazing the way through, basically just ignoring any mistakes that they have. As Ryan is setting up here for Quidditch, there's a difficult strat where you have to get some precise angles. Ooh, nearly hits himself, but does manage to break the wall very, very nicely without having to do the intended puzzle, which is slow. So great job from him.
Yeah, so far, really clean movement from Ryan as we see a couple deaths on Dalory's side, but that's totally okay. Getting Quidditch is very, very good, almost hitting themselves with that shot, which would have required them to be either set up for Quidditch again or go for safer strats. But no, Ryan missing the bash on the elemental. He has to try and recover this. No, he's going to take a death. That's okay. That's okay. It's really not too far of a distance to be able to recover, but this is what Dalory needs. He needs these tiny little bits of deaths just all over the place from Ryan. But man, Ryan is just putting on some of the most difficult movement in the game and just making it look incredibly easy. Nice sword slash launches there, able to get up, grapples off of that, does the bash off the elemental. Beautiful angle on both the bash and the launch to be able to end up just burrowing immediately into the sand there. And just getting these cutscene skips as well, right? Shooting the bow and then dashing into a save checkpoint is going to allow Ryan to be able to skip those and be able to save some time utilizing that load remover that we are utilizing for the tournament itself. And so Dalory just taking a few deaths, maybe like feeling the pressure, feeling the nerves as they're coming in. But I'm sure as long as if they could just relax, then they will be able to move through. But no, man. Oh, yeah, Dalory getting sent back to the entrance as they were attempting to make it towards the second heart.
Yeah, have we mentioned that this area can be very, very dangerous? Even if it's not something that's instant death. Like the enemies, the fire blobs and the lasers in this area deal so much damage, especially with either reckless or overcharged equipped, which our runners do want to have so they can do faster fights. And that just makes their every single mistake in this area hurt that much more. And so to see them still managing to get through it at this pace is great from both runners. But Ryan is already at 5 of the 8 hearts. Dalory is only at 2. And some of the faster hearts coming up, Ryan does again. Just instant death planes are everywhere in this area, but he is about to come into what I do not consider a boss, but is technically a boss. Don't blink or you will miss it on Ryan's side of the screen as he just holds his bow and the health bar melts. It's that easy with our upgrades that we've gotten.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And like, this is unupgraded Reckless. Like, we haven't upgraded Reckless, and we've barely even like upgraded any of the other shards. Just like an upgrade on the bow shard itself, and that's just like enough to be able to just absolutely melt that. But on the right, Dalory going for Quidditch, nice setup there, great launches, and oh yeah, taking some additional time for that hit. Oh, I cannot believe that shot ended up not hitting Dalory, right? So after you launch, you do have a specific number of like intangibility frames for like projectiles and stuff. Causing the projectile not to be able to connect with Ori, but it really is not that long of a period. And so, on the left, oh no, Ryan just barely missing the cycle, but that's okay. That's okay. They're just going to take a nice safer cycle. And honestly, at this point, Turtle, this is Ryan's race to lose, right? Knowing Ryan as well, like their execution in Will's End, I am not surprised at all to see this high level of execution. This is just absolutely nominative of Ryan, but it's not over yet. This is probably like the most difficult part to be able to get to, and Ryan just getting through their flawless technique, flawless movement, just absolutely living up to his namesake.
Yeah, this is smooth as butter from Ryan. Just I can't even. I'm gonna watch the other screen so I have something else to praise. Dalory is also doing really, really well. Had to swap out for some quick sword hits there on that heart because he ran out of energy, but made the adaptation really quick and easily. Also with that extra burrow that we saw him do, just again, very nice reaction, keeping himself from dying and losing any time. Ooh, okay, I completely cast or cursed that. I am so sorry. But besides that, doing very, very well to continue trying to keep up with Ryan, who is already starting the final fight. There is some RNG that could lose him some time, but aside from that, just a fight that Ryan has done many times before, and hopefully will do very well this time as well.
All right, this is it. Round 2, Ryan being seeded to be able to start showing their debut match here in the bracket phase, and they're already done with the first phase of Shriek. But if Ryan able to get through these next 3 phases of the fight, they will be walking away as the winner of this match. And because it's single elimination, that's right, they are going to be moving up to the semifinals of the tournament itself. Taking some damage here in this phase is not quite what they necessarily want to do, but beautiful launch slides here on those uneven terrains, and Ryan just putting on a clinic here in this escape sequence. So here they are going to try. Yeah, they are able to avoid that damage hit from Shriek, which it has a little bit of a bizarre hurt box, but they are now moving into the third phase, Turtle.
Yeah, the third phase is where it could all just come collapsing down. This phase is decently hard and has some phases like this, where Shriek just hides in the background. Ryan is going to take an intentional death to reset the fight, hoping to get some better attacks, or maybe something else. I'm not sure, because that Screech attack right there is typically one of the better ones to attack with. So Ryan is looking for something specific. Looks like this time he will stick around, not reset the fight, and will be fighting Shriek on her swoop downs to get as much damage as possible. Let's see. Oh, gets another feather phase next. This is the worst phase. It just takes so long, and you just cannot damage Shriek at all. You can only dodge and wait for her next attack, which here she comes. This is a decent attack to hit. Once you dodge through her wing, you can just blast her. Will that be enough? No, we still need another attack. There we go. This is also a good attack. You can hit Shriek quite a bit as she hovers in the air here. And Ryan, that will be on to phase 4 of this boss. Final phase of the final boss.
All right, let's go, Ryan. So here they were not able to get a platform break, so Shriek is going to be stomping a total of 4 times. But here, Ryan, maximum energy, awesome. Healing back to full, perfect. And now they are going to be coming in. So here, all they have to do is stand far enough to the right, and then Shriek will just always miss there, and then there's going to be a scripted 4 attacks, which are going to be the same from Shriek every single time. So Ryan is going to be trying to sustain themselves in midair, using bash, using launch, using those sentry jumps in order to be able to move up. And here they are just continuing to dodge Shriek. They're going to launch one more time. Skipping all those bashes is going to save a good significant amount of time, but they're launching up, nailing some bow shots, getting the bash in order to reset launch, and they're able to do it. Ryan, with a 1 hour and 59 second time, they are going to be walking away as the winner of this match, taking it to the semifinals where they are going to be facing off against Seal. GG, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. That was splendid play throughout the entire run. Only really that one major death that had the 40-second extra cutscene attached to it really ever slowed him down. Everything else was just perfect first try or perfect backups the entire way through. Seal with a great run earlier, but these two runners just looking like their head-to-head is going to be phenomenal to watch. But we still do have one more run to watch for the rest of today, and that is Dalory finishing up Shriek himself. Won't be winning this race, but at that time, Dalory doing ridiculously well considering his preliminaries. He has been through like a training arc in the off time.
Yeah, indeed. So now they're going to be coming into the escape sequence for the Shriek fight itself. And I mean, I just really have to commend like Dalory as well. Like, yeah, Will's End may not have gone nearly as well as they were hoping for, but in the mid game, right, their mid and early game were incredibly impressive. And it's just really cool stuff to see. And truly this fight as well has been going really, really well. Nice launch slide there to be able to build a little bit of additional speed. And now they're going to be coming over into the sand. Are they able to dodge it? No, they actually do end up taking that damage hit from Shriek itself. So we're going to see here if they are going to take the intentional damage boost. Oh, they do, but they also get hit as Shriek is coming down to land. So they're almost towards half health, which is a little bit spooky, but as long as they are able to execute, they will be able to get through here. And yeah, just bad RNG on this attack pattern. That's fine, but it also gives Dalory a little bit of a breather from the action to be able to continue to fight. And nice pattern here. So Shriek is going to be coming down, launching up in order to avoid that damage. And now they are continuing to land those bow shots in. Only 1 to 2 phases left for Dalory to be able to move into that final phase. And look at that pattern, Turtle.
Yeah, that's a great one. Dalory just keeping themselves in the air to avoid the laser. Will not manage to get enough damage on that. But this Shriek fight, as long as you can tank the damage boost, will also let you finish off a lot of damage, which Dalory does. Takes a quick death to reset his health and energy. Grabs that, and now he's on to phase 2. Again, the start of this is very, very scripted. And so if he can manage to prepare whatever path he has planned to get through the swoop at the end, all that's left to do is just to absolutely bash the boss's face in with bow.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so this is going to be the difficult part here. We're going to see how many bashes they do off of a shot. Every single bash does lose a tiny little bit of time, but it also gives a little bit of safety, right? You saw that pause there, so he could actually measure exactly how far away he wanted to be from Shriek in order to avoid taking damage. Because taking a death, yeah, they have to start this phase entirely over again. But beautiful fight from Dalory, taking down Shriek, taking the loss here, but you know what? Just absolutely incredible performance. And man, what an exciting race. And our runners finishing within minutes of each other. That is just so incredible. Beautiful run from Dalory. And also GG's to Ryan taking the win here. What an incredible race. That was amazing, Turtle.
Yeah, I cannot believe, like, going into this race, I thought we were going to see some great run from Ryan. I didn't really know what to expect from Dalory. So seeing this be so close, that's so cool. I'm so happy that we got to watch and commentate this. It was just spectacular the entire way through. Hands down, one of the best races that we've seen.
I mean, I think the other really impressive thing for me, Turtle, as we see our runners are going to be on deck that are going to be joining us for an interview, it's just really incredible seeing all those wave dashes from both of our runners, right? And like when Dalory took that lead in the mid game, they held on to it, right? They didn't let it go for like 20, 30 minutes. And then Ryan, just with a beautiful boss rush mode, was able to pull ahead and pull that minute ahead of their opponent as they were heading into the late game.
Yep. And so we will be pulling in both of our runners for an interview right now, so we can pick their brains over like what they were thinking, what they were feeling throughout that incredible race. So let's pull them in. Yep. And GG to both of you. Fantastic race.
Thank you.
Yep, GG's.
GG.
Mm-hmm. And so I do start off after asking, for both of you, were you watching the other person's stream, Ryan?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay, and Dalory?
I was completely in the dark with this one. I was just on my own, doing my own thing.
Ooh, really? Okay, so spoilers, this was stupidly close. You guys traded the lead back and forth several times throughout the race. It was just incredible to watch. So Dalory, what are your thoughts on being able to keep up with Ryan, the second seed and a favorite to win the tournament, so well throughout this race?
You know, going into it, I thought I would be a little bit more nervous, but I kind of expected these results, so I didn't really hold myself to too high of standards. But I was just really happy that we actually got a good race out, and it went back and forth so many times, and it was entertaining to watch, hopefully.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. And I think part of it is Ryan, you had some great moments, but you did have to watch the cutscene at the beginning of Wellspring twice. What was going through your head on that death? Was it just nerves or just a missed timing? What happened there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just wasn't focused properly because I did get the aerial sentry, but I just didn't go to the right far enough, so I just died to the spikes, and yeah, after that I just felt awful. And to be honest, a lot of things at the start just went really badly.
Well, you recovered spectacularly to finish out the end half of that race, especially. So, yeah, I'm still flabbergasted by how well that went. For both of you, considering all the cool stuff that we got to see you do, I want to ask what your favorite trick in the entire run is, and maybe why. So, Dalory, let's start with you on that.
My favorite trick in the run is probably the bow pole momentum glitch that we see right before getting to Glades. It's like the only time that we get to see it in MQO, and I'm a fan of the sentry jump and wave dash momentum tricks, just how they make you fly, and I feel like the the bow pole is like my favorite trick, just because of how fast it makes you fly upwards.
Yeah, I think that's the highest. Your bow pole right there is the highest I've ever seen anyone launch off of that. So, just phenomenal execution of that. Ryan, on the other hand, what's your favorite trick in the run?
I really like those regen sentry dashes, and especially the one after upswim.
Yeah, absolutely. You could just completely knock those out of the park too. Especially the ones around the coup skip, just basically setup-less. It looked like to me, just blitzing through that. So then that is the end of this race. And unfortunately, Dalory, you have been eliminated. But I definitely want to see more from you. So what are you doing next? Ori, another project, anything that we can hope to see from you in the future?
Hopefully once my school lets me breathe a little bit, over the summer I'll have more time to actually post some more runs on speedrun.com for MQO. And once I'm happy with one of those, then I might even venture into another category. I've always looked at owls.
Ooh.
I don't know if a lot of people run it, but seems super fun to me. So
Yeah, well, I wish you the absolute best of luck in that. And I also wish the best of luck to Ryan, who will be continuing in this tournament. Ryan, your next match will be Seal. How are you feeling about that one going forward?
I think it's gonna be a really good one. Like I feel like we are mostly evenly skilled. I just feel like his skill ceiling is a bit higher, but I'm more consistent. Except this race, but you know.
Yeah, well, I just watched both of you race today, and both ones I could see either of you winning that one. So I am super duper excited for that next race. But for today, that is all we have for you to watch. We will be having, if you're watching or wanting for more Ori, there's another race which will be Bobies versus Mzuzek, our 5th and 4th seeds in the tournament, so really should be close. That one is coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. UTC, which if I can do math, that's about 20 and a half hours from now. I think 7 p.m. UTC, if you want to do the calculations yourself. So definitely get back if you can to watch that race. It'll be another banger of a race, I am 100% sure. But for us today, that is it. Thank you so much to our runners for putting on that spectacular showcase of a run. Thank you to Covert Muffin for helping me commentate this run. Thank you to 2Kill for being our restreamer, and thank you to Bobies for giving us all the information that we could possibly need to commentate this race. For now, that is all, and we hope to see you later for more of the Main Quest Order Tournament 2023.